Welcome to another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White. Jahadi, we are back. Feels good to be back here and talking some Wizards basketball again.
What's up, Matt? Matt Durney. What's up, my man? Look, man, it's great to be back. Was on a little vacation, but I'm back here.
I love it.
Enjoying the place to be, where I want to be, where I need to be.
You got to make the most of the off season here, because once all these games start and stuff, there's not a lot of downtime to look away from this stuff. A lot of moving parts. So a little slow week. I think people were probably taking their own vacations, and it's a good time. Good time.
Oh yeah, it gets real during the season, but that's the great part about it. It's what we love, it's what we know.
I like football too, but to be honest with you, I'm ready for basketball to start already. Like I'm at that point in the summer. Like it needs to get going here.
Well, when I see football, I always try to like football. My son played football. I watch all, watch First Take, watch everything about football.
Sure.
But the only thing that football season makes me think about is basketball is coming.
Right, exactly. It's the warm up for the basketball season.
Yeah.
They always talk about basketball viewership doesn't really pick up until after the Super Bowl. And I'm like, by the time basketball starts, I've stopped caring about football just as much, honestly.
Oh yeah. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're good.
All basketball does is anticipate me for football. Because I know as soon as all football does is anticipate me for basketball. As soon as I know during the season, during the summer, when I play in the NBA, if football rolls around and you're not in ultimate game shape by then,
right, exactly. You got to be ready. Yep, exactly.
You may get cut. You may get a write up in the news with the coaches and the staff saying, with the organization saying he wasn't prepared.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Training camp. You better be in training camp shape by the first football game you see on TV. If not, you're like, I'm done. I won't be ready for this season.
We will be in training camp level shape here for the pod. This is our preseason training camp here. We're getting ready just like the team, getting into our midseason form here a little bit. Got plenty of things to talk about here, but before we get going, brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside hard iced teas, hard lemonades, hard all that good stuff, and BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, UFC, tennis, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting on your favorite casino and card games. And head to the website or use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, cool. Now we got that stuff out of the way here. Let's just hit the good stuff. In the last couple days, the Wizards did their first of kind of several media day check-ins. So Michael Winger got up there, did an opening statement, and said the Wizards' goal is to build a sustainable contender, and was insistent that they won't take any shortcuts, and that they're looking really long-term at this. So I think that's good. One, that they've got a commitment from Ted that, hey, you're going to have some years to put this together and build this the right way. But sustainable contender, I mean, there were definitely a couple of years in these Wizards runs where they could have made a dent in the playoffs, but I would have never said sustainable was really a word for even their closest to contention team. So I don't know. Do you buy that? Do you think, I'm sure that's their goal. I guess how realistic do you think that is?
It's realistic as they make it, right? Because, the reason they say sustainable contender is because that's something that the Wizards have never been in a long time, right?
Yeah.
Really just have never
Since the 70s,
been, right?
I mean, that
sustainable mean consecutive over and over, right?
Exactly.
So they know that if you just go get a lot of great players now, maybe you'll make the playoffs, maybe you'll make a big dent, but it'd be a flash in the pan.
Exactly.
Right? These days, they know first of all, they're saying, hey, Wizards fans, you have to be patient with us.
Right. Give us some time here.
Give us some time. The other thing is, Wizards fans aren't that patient.
I mean, we're still hanging around after 25 years of mostly not that good.
Even we were talking about earlier, if we're not winning early in the season,
people check out.
Fan participation drops off heavily.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Yeah. So the owners and the GMs and the organization knows how the fans are, and they know who's loyal to. There's loyal Wizards fan. I'm not There's a lot of them. I played there. I love the Wizards fans, but they're looking for the long haul and something they compete with. They want to be, they want to go to consecutive playoffs, and fight for championships. They want to be there. They want to be in the talks with the Milwaukee Bucks, the Golden State Warriors, the Lakers, the Boston Celtics. You want to be a contender with those teams.
Mm-hmm.
That starts off with a great player out the gate, young player, and building around, or a duo.
Franchise cornerstone kind of guy,
yeah,
at least.
two young duos usually,
Sure.
Just like Sacramento. I think Sacramento will end up being a long-standing, sustainable contender.
Mm-hmm.
You can see, and it's all about the right pieces coming together. And the pieces come together slowly. Sometimes it falls in your hand. To me, Sacramento, that's more of the pieces were already there. They just need to know how to work them. Golden State, no one on Golden State was a top guy. It's all role players. You can't tell me before we knew Steph Curry like we know him, Klay Thompson like we know him, Draymond Green like we know him. Those guys weren't role players.
Yeah,
right?
he
And
fell
that's
to
why
seven.
it worked so
Steph
well
went
because
seventh. Yeah.
it worked so well because no one was everybody came in there unselfish, right? And now we seen ball movement in the NBA like we haven't seen since Red Auerbach days.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all of those things play a factor. So they understand that they've seen it. So they understand what growing looks like and what it is.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, like Miami is probably the team I would most try to emulate if I'm them, because even when Miami doesn't have the star power or the firepower, they're rebuilding with undrafted guys and they keep this thing rolling. They're not getting lottery picks every couple years to jumpstart this stuff. It's, hey, this guy went 38th overall. And by the way, he's a starter by year 2. Like, that's the kind of thing you've got to be able to pull off too. And like really work things around the margins. And that's really where I think the Wizards have kind of not been as successful, at least for the last decade or so.
Right. But I think with Miami also, Pat Riley always keeps a few Pat Rileys.
Yeah,
if you really look at it, right?
Yeah.
Always keeps Jimmy Butler is a Pat Riley. He's not a leader, vocal leader. He leads by toughness.
Right.
Udonis Haslem.
Yeah.
Right.
They have MFers. So you need a couple MFers.
Right. And so what that does is filtrate throughout the team.
Right.
So he knows, long as I can filtrate toughness throughout the team, I can make it there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's all different types of leaders. So I think you have to take, and I like how the organization has done it with the GMs and all the team they put together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the actual players, but the staff, the organization, the GMs and all of that, basketball operations, all of that. So, which means they understand all the different ways that each team that they've been around and has helped build, all the specific ways that they really made that team grow, or the process, right? So now you can bring all those separate elements and processes into one process. So we have a mastermind organization. We have the right organization in place to make this thing happen.
I think so.
Right. So when they're saying, hey, let's be patient with us, we want to build a sustainable thing, they have the knowledge to build something sustainable.
And I think it's easier to be patient when you can kind of see that a little bit too. When it looks like there's no plan, it's like, I can't stick with you here. Like, I don't know where we're going. When these guys are telling you, like, this is what we're going to try to do, it's going to take a couple years. This is the kind of things we want to build around. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but they've really beefed up the player development portion of the coaching staff. Like, we're going to build internally. Like, okay, all right, I can sit back a little bit. I can give them a little benefit of the doubt here. Like, this year might not be too good, but did guys get better? Like, is there hope for the future? Like, I can watch a bad team if,
not to cut you off. They're changing the culture inside out.
Right, exactly.
They're changing the entire culture and the system of the Wizards.
Yep.
Right? So they're going from from an AOL to Apple. Nothing can say, oh, well, I love Ted. But I'm just, you get what I'm saying.
Next
They're
gen.
changing and that's the great thing that they're doing it inside out. Right? From the bottom to the top instead of from the top to the bottom. Right. And so, and like you said, what's great about it is you can trust the people they have now. If
You've
they
seen them
say
do
it,
it
you're
other
like,
places. Yeah.
You're going to have to prove me wrong more than prove me right.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. And so that's where my comfortability is. I trust the entire team they have.
Even just some of the fringe moves we're seeing right now probably would have gotten trashed a little bit more under the last regime. But it's like, okay, well, they've got something in mind. Like, I maybe don't see the picture or how it all fits together, but I trust that they're building towards something specific like that. That'll be good. Like the Taj Gibson pickup as the 38-year-old third center. I would have been like, okay, well, why didn't we get a young guy? But how many veterans do we need? But it's like, all right, well, they must have seen something there that they clearly think he can bring to the table for them.
I don't think it has anything to do with the court.
Yeah, right. Exactly. He's
Remember,
can he add some toughness and that
you
kind of
always
stuff?
hear guys like us say I hate that the NBA stopped having veterans and on the bench leadership,
right?
And in the locker room leadership on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that stopped existing. Only a few teams do that now.
Right.
That validated everyone, the organization for me, that they say, look, we're doing that again.
Sure.
We saw how Taj helped, speaks to the young fellas, how he puts them under their wing, how he can end up being a person in our organization one day. He has those qualities.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. I was happy to see that. At first I said, why? But I was like, this has nothing to do with him playing. This has to do with Jordan Poole.
Yeah. Keep guys in line, push them in the right direction, that kind of thing. Yeah. My original thought was like, how many veterans do you really need? It's half this roster. We could have used a young center prospect, but Danilo Gallinari might not be here after the trade deadline. DeLon Wright might not be here after the trade deadline. Like if they're bringing Taj in, presumably he's not going to have a ton of trade value. He's a guy that will be here the course of the season. And Anthony Gill, he's a fringe roster player. He might not be here long term. So signing Taj, he's the guy I would expect of the veteran presences to kind of make it the full duration of the season. So I think that's really where they were going with that. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right. I get the plan a little bit more here now. If Tommy had done that shit, I'd be like, what is this dope doing? I don't see the plan here, but
right.
Yeah. Winger also said, we will hit the gas when we have the absolute perfect road to hit the gas on. So, hey, we will go all in on some of this stuff, but it has to be when the time is right. It has to be for the right guy. Again, not just you have to be patient with us, but we're going to be patient. I like that too. And he also said that Jordan Poole is a pre-prime player and one that they want to continue developing to expand his game, and that we'll see him play on the ball a lot more this season. So I think that's good too. Try it out, see what he can do, give him all the reps on ball, off ball. This year should be about figuring out what guys can and can't do, fully evaluating them, and are they long-term pieces for you?
Yeah, Vanderpool is going to be great for Jordan Poole.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Poole and Poole, they'd be great for each other.
There you go.
Right?
Love that.
Because it's not, Jordan Poole has all the skills and all the latest swaggy moves and all the reads, right? It's just the stability, the stableness, the soundness that you need to really implement. And then also he needs some old school stuff. He needs to understand, okay, I did one of these new style moves to get down here, and now I'm in a pickle, right? Do I just throw something up, or now do I see who's available? Can I now see the periphery of the court? Let me purposely bring. He needs some Chris Paul. Jordan Poole needs now a little bit of a Chris Paul element. Matt. You froze up on me. All right, guys, he'll be back. But what I was saying is Jordan Poole needs a Chris Paul element, that leadership guard now being a general, being a quarterback. He needs to add that quarterback element to the Wizards and to his game. Once he gets that quarterback element in his game, you will have one of the top sound basketball minds in the game. Because most points at his position aren't as skilled as he is. But
he's full bag.
Yeah, he just needs the IQ part.
Yeah. And that's what you said when you played with David. He was that kind of guy, right? Like he was the heady point guard, made the smart decisions. Like he was the right kind of guy to pass those things along.
Right. He just not saying he's not smart, because you won't be able to make the reads and do the moves and get downhill if you're not smart. But now it's about the science and the technical part. Once he get that technical part down, and David Vanderpool can really implement the technical part that Jordan needs to run that team and quarterback that team.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. They talked a good amount and made a big press release about totally revamping and reconstructing the coaching staff. And at first I was like, well, okay. They kept literally all the key assistants from last year, except for like Dean Oliver left. But they added Vanderpool, they added Brian Keefe. That's some like top end coaching talent. But then looking at it, they took Landon Tatum, who was an assistant coach on the Capital City Go-Go last year. He coached the summer league team and made him the key player development coach for the team, and then gave him a staff of like 5 assistant coaches, specifically focused on just how do we help these guys work on their skill sets throughout the year. And honestly, that's kind of refreshing. Like that's not like some of the player development guys the Wizards had, Ryan Richmond, Alex McLean, were really good, but it was like 2 or 3 guys for the whole team. Now you got 5, 6, 7 guys plus the coaching staff. There's no excuse for them not to be able to like help these guys improve. And that's something Wizards fans have been clamoring for I don't know.
Well, not only that, now it makes it mandatory for those guys to come in and put in the time, not only in practice, but individually.
Yep. Yeah, I think
so that's like, we want you guys to become better individually, not only for yourselves, but the better you are, the better the team would be, the more reliable when things break down. We know, right? Longest, and those, the player development guys, sometimes it's funny. So sometimes the player development guy will work with you, but all on team concept things.
Okay.
Now, so it depends. Are they going to work on the player individually and build the player as a better player? Or are they going to work on that player to say, hey, we need to work on this swing that we're doing a lot. Let's keep going over this swing a million times. Now let's go. All right. So that's the difference. As a coach, for me, as me being a coach, I want you to be better for you. So when anything break down, I can depend on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And that's a really good distinction for fans to be aware of too. Like a lot of times you'll see a guy on the side, an assistant coach, looking at things on the iPad. And are they looking at film of the player, or are they looking at, hey, here's this play and how you should have moved on it? And I'm hopeful that with this young team, there's more of an emphasis on, hey, Daniel Gafford, let's sit here and every day we're going to spend 35 minutes you working on your jump hook.
Right.
And it's not just, okay, here's how you rotate, here's how you play drop coverage. It's one thing if you're a veteran team and you just need everybody to fit together. This year should really be about like, how do we improve the skill of our players?
Of each individual player.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? How do we make 6 and 7 on the bench extra reliable to the point they can compete against the starters? How do we make Daniel Gafford stronger, more effective, offensively and especially defensively, right?
Yep.
Learn some reads, learn to protect the basket, learn when the ball in his hands to give him a bag.
Yep.
Right? It would be great that if Daniel Gafford had at least 3 go-tos, at least 3 go-tos guaranteed.
Yeah.
With 3 counters.
Right. Yeah, I'd settle for 1 to start out, to be honest with you. I actually like Gafford, but like I
Yeah, but
would
you
say
scout
that
him too much. That one you got. Yeah, I'll take one.
yeah, his post game
And
is
I'll
not
take him
over.
stop being on the floor.
Yeah, right. Stop falling down. Yeah, can Deni like can he have more on ball reps? So is that something you can work on and practice and in your time not as a really helpful and important, I think.
Well, the thing is this: Kuzma and Poole is going to take all the energy. Right? Everybody on the team is going to focus on them.
Sure.
Right. Let's stop the game plan this year. Let's stop Kuzma and Kuzma and Poole, and we're good. We win. Let's stop. Let's limit them to 15 and 15.
Right.
Each. Right. But which means everybody else is pretty much going to be open. Right. Now, if we can show every other, we're in the NBA. You're not in the NBA if you can't play. So we can start making everybody else a weapon as well.
That's big.
Right.
Now we're hard to guard.
Yeah, it'd be hard to guard, hard to scout. Now, Kuzma and Poole also can go for 30 if they need to, and we still have the role players leaving the game with 10 to 15.
Yep. Just side note real quick for anyone watching this live on the YouTube page, apologies, some technical issues on my end. I have Xfinity and they're terrible. That's like a reverse sponsorship for the show. Comcast, you suck. So my internet just totally went out in the middle of the show. So trying to power through here on an iPad that's got some wireless. So bear with us if the quality technically is not as good, at least on my end here. But yeah, there's always something. We're powering through. We're adapting. That's what we want to see from this Wizards coaching staff this year too. Can they make some changes on the fly and roll with the punches? Jahadi, just going through the depth chart here. Neil Dalal of Hoop District posted this recently. He had point guards Tyus Jones, DeLon Wright, Ryan Rollins, Jared Butler, one of their two-way contract guys, the kid from Baylor. Shooting guard Jordan Poole, Corey Kispert, Landry Shamet, Johnny Davis. Small forward, he had Deni Avdija, Bilal Coulibaly, Eugene Amaruya, also one of their two ways. Power forward, Kyle Kuzma, Danilo Gallinari, Patrick Baldwin, Anthony Gill, Xavier Cooks. Center, Daniel Gafford, Mike Muscala, Taj Gibson. Still think they're a little light in the front court, but I think that probably means we're going to see some of these other guys be small ball fives, whether that's Gill, Cooks, Kuzma, maybe even Deni. The only pushback I'd maybe have on Neil's list here is I don't know if he's basing that off of any insight that the team is looking to start Deni Avdija to start the year. I would be surprised personally. We talked about this before. If it's not Kispert, I think that is probably the open competition. Maybe it's matchup dependent. But I would expect to see Kispert out there with the starters a lot would be my guess. So that's the one I really want to see how it plays out in training camp. And
I was surprised to see that part too. Right. Yeah. I would think it would be Kispert as well, or them out there together somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Because I thought, I think new coaches usually kind of come in with their own game plan, how they want things to start and how they want to start.
Sure.
But a returning coach usually doesn't switch up that type of thing much.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm surprised to see, unless they're, and then you try to see, okay, what's the game plan? Why wouldn't they consider both of those guys out there together?
I think somebody's got to not start at that point. And who do you drop? To me, if you're going to give Jordan Poole some of these more on-ball reps, I think, could you not start a Tyus Jones and bring him off the bench? Is that the sacrifice you want to make there? Like,
true.
To me,
or what you can do is say, hey, look, we need to do it Westbrook style, like Lakers did with Westbrook. Hey, we need a person who can run, who can give us guaranteed buckets when we take when we take another bucket, when we take Deni out, right?
Yeah.
Or when we take Corey out, we needed somebody who can replace those shots that's guaranteed. Right now, as a player, that's hard to take.
Sure. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy, right? Unless you got to have the right mindset for that.
And Deni kind of sometimes handles that kind of differently. Its confidence can waver.
Yep, I agree.
And so you have to take that in consideration.
Yeah, I actively saw him like yelling at Wes Unseld Jr. at that game. I went to one of the Clippers games in LA, and we were sitting right behind the bench, and they were getting into it a little bit. And he had pulled Deni at some point during that game, and I was a little surprised. Like a younger guy was like willing to give it back to him that much. But yeah, you're right. I think for him, especially like for somebody who's had like some shaky shooting and things like that, the confidence is the biggest thing. I don't think you have to worry about that with Corey as much. So maybe he's an easier guy to bring off the bench for that reason too. But also, if you don't start Deni, Tyus Jones, a little undersized, he tries hard. Jordan Poole has not played much defense. Corey is an average at best defender. You're going to get cooked on the perimeter if you don't have at least one of those guys out there, I think.
Well, I think that's what they know. They know we don't really have any. That's what the organization knows right now, that we don't have any defensive presence.
Yeah. Unless you're going to start like a DeLon.
That's why they said be patient with us. Yeah. Right? Be patient with us.
We'll get there.
Yeah, first of all, we need to add some more efficient scoring.
Sure.
Right. But we understand that defense wins championships. We don't have any defensive presence right now.
Right.
We see that. Now, with our player development staff and what we have, we're going to have to really focus and make that a focal point.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, just the coaching staff is going to have to make defense a focal point. Let's get our scoring where we can get it right now. But we have to get major stops.
Yeah, and if you need stops, like Deni is the guy to put out there to do that. Like he's been.
Yeah, but one person can't get you all the stops.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like if the split becomes him and Kispert, and you're focused on getting stops, you're gonna play Deni.
Oh yeah, you're gonna put him on the main guy, right?
Yeah, I think I'm totally with you overall though, and hopefully what the Bilal Coulibaly pick points to is like we are going to try to draft guys that at least theoretically are more likely to be two-way players moving forward. Can this guy pass, dribble, shoot, and defend? Like that? That's something that they haven't really prioritized much the last couple of years.
You got to get two-way players because right now, Poole is not a two-way player.
Yeah.
Kuzma is actually a two-way player, but he's one when he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. He can take on a tough assignment. Right. Not always the most consistent.
But he's not doing 80 games of a tough assignment.
Right, exactly. And if you need him to be a lot of your scoring,
right,
that's a tough ask. And I don't know, Daniel Gafford's a little bit of both sometimes, depending on the situation and the matchup and the night and effort. And I don't know how much caffeine maybe before the game.
I'm going to take it easy on Gafford to see. I'm going to give him another chance till the season starts.
I dig it. I really do like Daniel Gafford. The way he came in initially after that trade, he like instantly changed their defensive intensity, their
impact. But everybody does that.
Sure.
Everybody brings 200% on a new team.
Right, that's fair.
You don't really get to see a player to about 10 games in.
Yeah.
Then you say, all right, this is what we really have, right? Because no one other than Westbrook or Allen Iverson, those type of players, they give 200 every day. Is no one or Giannis? It's not everybody.
Not many of those guys.
Right. Nobody really gives 200% all the time, right? So the real you comes out eventually, after you want to make your impact and want to make the organization and the coaches know, hey, you didn't make a mistake bringing me here.
So as someone who's lived this, I would love your perspective on if this is a real thing or not. I'm 6 feet tall, maybe 6.5 on a good day. I've primarily played on the perimeter in my basketball career, but I always believe in like reward the big man. Like, you got to give your big guy some amount of offensive touches or he's not going to want to do all the dirty work bullshit for you. And for Gafford, when he came in and was playing with Russell Westbrook, and this guy would like collapse the defense. He was a lob threat for Westbrook. Like he was the kind of like dump off point. Like that's when we saw the best defensive Daniel Gafford. The last couple of years, we've really kind of lacked in that like penetration, who's getting into the paint. And we've seen less of Gafford offensively, but also less of him defensively because of it. Is there any truth to that? Like, if you don't give me some touches, I'm not going to do all the other stuff as well as I could. Like, do you buy that at all for what's holding him back maybe the last year or two?
Yeah, absolutely true. So it's a. I know some players who they used to player development coaches. They used to coach Dwight Howard.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When he was at Charlotte, Dwight Howard, if he wasn't getting his touches, right, he'd stop rebounding. He'd stop doing everything.
Not protecting the rim.
He'd stop on purpose. But what he would do mostly would be if, you're not giving me my touches, let me stand in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to break the whole play down for everybody at this point.
I'm going to stand in 3 seconds where if I can't shoot it, you can't shoot it either.
Yeah, smart.
Right?
Yeah. They'll learn pretty quick. Yeah, better.
Hey, we all gonna get a 3-second call.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
So, and we get a 3-second call because I'm asking for it. I'm not leaving this lane. If I don't get it, we get in 3 seconds. And he would do it on purpose. Even with Chris, right? He told a story on the podcast the other day. And it's so true. Richard Hamilton missed a pass to me, right? And I was wide open. I'm like, man, Richard shooting everything. Yeah. So he told Chris, he told Richard, hey, man, go over there and holler at Jahadi, talk to him, say, my bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he said my bad, it made me realize, it made me think, okay, he did see me at least.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So he got me on the next one. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one, he threw me when I dunked it. Right after that, I'm giving you 8 rebounds.
Yeah, exactly. You're fired up.
10 block shots, right? So with what we saw with Gafford, right, was playing with Westbrook. What does Westbrook bring more than anything?
Intensity, energy, hustle.
Energy that he's going to hold Gafford accountable for.
Right.
Not only that, Gafford's going to feed off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's going to demand that from Gafford, and then Gafford going to see also results.
Yeah, he's going to get the ball back if he does.
He's going to get the ball back. He's going to get results, right? So once you take that element away, and that's the thing that the Wizards know they don't have now, right? That element is missing, right?
Sure.
Now, that element resonates throughout a team. When you have a guy like a Westbrook, when you got a guy like when you get rid of a guy like Drew Holiday, or a guy like Marcus Smart, you're getting rid of your defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You're getting rid of the foundation of your team, even though somebody else may be the leader.
Right. Yeah, your identity. Your identity
gets getting rid of your identity. Defense wins championships. Defense wins games. Right? When you hold somebody, when there's somebody on a team that's going to get all in every day and give 110, give 200 like Westbrook will, right? Mm-hmm. Now he's gone. Your defensive foundation of the team just goes out the door. Especially someone vocal as Westbrook, especially someone who's going to be demanding and speaks his mind, speaks up like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you see a different Gafford.
It's true.
So until we bring another element as strong as that to the team, especially for a big gets no touches. Right? Big gonna have to give every pass he gets off the rim. He's gonna have to think anything in the paint is someone invading his home. Right? It's a mindset.
Lord, you got to go earn that nickname at this point, right?
Right. So it's a mindset, especially when you don't have offensive skills.
Right.
I mean, not offensive skills, when you don't have a bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You have to be effective. So Gafford doesn't have anything to feed on, and he's so young, he doesn't know how to fuel that himself yet.
Yeah. The other problem that they've had with Gafford is the first couple of years it was conditioning. He said he couldn't play more minutes. He was always tugging on his jersey to come out. And you're 23 years old. Like, why can't you play 20 minutes in a game? And then foul trouble has been another challenge for him too. So if Gafford gets hurt or is in foul trouble a lot, or there's the conditioning flare-ups again, can Mike Muscala and Taj Gibson hold it down for them in the front court by themselves? To me, they're still really lean. Like, this team could use a Jahadi White, somebody to hold it down for them, protect the rim, control the boards, be a big body for some of these bigger matchups. Like, Taj, a little undersized, not as athletic to make up for it anymore. Muscala, more of a stretch big kind of guy. Gafford's not the biggest dude. Maybe they don't want to win a ton of games this year, but also you can't go out and let some of these other teams just big boy you the whole time either. So that worries me a little bit.
It does, but then again, it's not too many effective big men in the game. You got Joel, you have Cat, you have
Jokic. I mean, that's probably the list.
But. Jokic, right? You have Giannis, but other than that, you're not seeing a lot of effective big men every day. So they understand that too, and then teams are going small. So, but the thing that the teams with effective big men are the best teams, the ADs. So to be a contender, you're going to have to compete with those teams. So you're going to have we're in the center position. We're light. We don't have what we need there.
Gonna have to run and make these.
And the thing is, we got to go overseas and just go find a monster who can move his feet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
we got to just you just need somebody who protected it. You need somebody like the Boston Celtics have. I can't remember the name for some.
No, Robert Williams.
Robert Williams. You need a Robert Williams. Exact that, right? He's not going to give you a lot offensively, but when he does, he can give you something, right? You need a Clint Capella.
Yep.
Right? You just need one of those.
Yeah, I agree. That would go a long way. And I think they wanted Gafford to be that guy, but even the best version of Gafford is still a little on the smaller side to do that. I mean, like
Gafford can be that.
Students is going to put him in the rim.
Gafford is not that much smaller than Robert Williams.
Yeah,
a little bit less bulky in the shoulders because he don't get in the weight room. He can bulk up easy.
He gets pushed around a little bit more. Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, so the Gafford thing is he flops around. He doesn't want to be physical. This year, if I'm there, my main goal is making Gafford physical.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to deal with hits and give hits. Being able to absorb bumps and push, pound, not foul trouble, right? Being able to stop guys before they can get in their positions. His mindset is not strong enough right now to be able to take on that every day. That's why he's on the floor. You don't see bigs on the floor a lot.
I mean, even when Thomas Bryant was here, he was not a physical defensive presence. But the thing he did well is he made him pay for it on the other end. Bryant beat every other opposing big down the floor, and he made them chase him.
Right.
And he also stretched out to the perimeter. Gafford's not going to do that, but I want to see him be the first big man down the court every single possession. Like, if you are like younger and more athletic and not a big bulky dude, run their ass ragged, just kill them in transition, do all that other kind of stuff.
Be the first guy down. But he does it because if you notice on the other end of the court, before everybody, he's the last one down because he's always on the floor.
He's been bumped around.
It's just real. I'm not. I know I keep saying it over and over again, but it's the truth.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
If I need you down court, you got to be strong enough not to be on the floor, or just because you missed a layup or something, you roll all the way out of bounds.
This team flopped and pouted and hung back on the other end of the court last year more than just about any other team.
Oh man,
I watched. Granted, I don't watch other teams.
If the main player makes that an identity,
yeah,
it's okay.
Right, you're done. You've got no chance if the best guy's doing it, everyone else is going to do it. You've shown them it's okay, and they can all get away with it too. And I don't know. That's definitely tough. Just pivoting here a little bit. Got a couple random anecdotes before we get out here. Just my good buddy Austin, who's listening to the show right now, sent me a video clip of he's into like the player trading cards and collectibles and things like that. And I guess they were doing like a live opening, and the guy who was hosting it was wearing a Georgetown number 33 jersey. And he sent it to me, and I said, oh, is that Alonzo Mourning? It didn't, because I picture you in a 55, I guess.
Right.
and then I was like, oh shit, oh you're right, that is Jahadi. First of all, I thought that was cool that someone was rocking the Georgetown, but I guess why 33, why 55, why the switch? Was there any kind of thinking behind the numbers there?
So what happened? I 55 was my number, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I came in Georgetown wearing 55. I think it was so then it's my first 2 years I wore 55.
Mm-hmm.
Allen Iverson left, Victor Page left. Coach was like, it's your team now. He was like, it's your team. I want to do something like to let you know it's your team. Okay. How do you feel about me giving you he loved Patrick.
Sure.
He was like, how about you wear Patrick's number this year and we sell it? Yeah, we promote this, right? Yeah. You wear 33 this year.
Mm.
I was like, Coach, I don't like changing my number. I'm not cool with that. I don't, I'm used to 55. I'm real superstitious about certain things. And Jinx like, nah, I'd be fine. Like I'm passing on the torch and the ranks to you. This is 33. And, Coach is very persuasive.
Cool. Sure.
And you just don't you just really don't say no too much to him.
Right.
Because obviously that's something, if you turn that down, he'll think you probably feel like you're turning down the
responsibility or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, Coach. So that year I wore 33. It was all in the bookstore and every store I went around, it was 33. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know if it was to keep the 33 alive. I think it was keep 33 alive, but it's also my jersey.
Sure.
That year. So it was cool to watch, look at hip hop videos and see the rapper wearing 33, and by the looks of that jersey, this is this year's jersey, which that rapper is wearing my jersey.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right. So, but by the end of the season, I'm like, hey, I gotta have 55 back. I don't want this 33. Sure. I don't like the way I'm playing in it. Just don't. So I end up getting 55 back my senior year, but that's where the 33 came from.
I like that. That's cool. I'm glad he sent that to me. So shout out Austin. But I once he showed it to me, I had to ask. I knew there was some kind of story there. So that's pretty cool. I was around Big John just enough to know that he didn't hear no on a lot of that stuff.
No wasn't an option.
Yeah. A couple other ones here. Miles Turner came out on a recent podcast, the Run Your Race pod, said, people don't view us as people. We're property. You get paid millions of dollars. Shut up. That's kind of how the casual fans view us. It feels that way, just being on Twitter to see how people talk about players a lot of times. I guess, did it feel that way to you as a player a lot of time, or do you think that's been worse with social media?
You as a player, you understand you're Maximus Aurelius.
Yeah, I like that. There you go.
You know what I'm saying? That's the reality of it. That's the reality. And the player and the fans feel like they're paying your paycheck. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And your job is to get out there and entertain. And you realize that in situations of when you're getting hurt, you realize that in situations to where when you're not able to do what you can do anymore, they just move to the next one. They, like Kobe said, they're not actually cheering for you.
It's whoever's wearing that number 5 jersey.
They're cheering for what you can do.
Right. Yeah.
They're cheering for the entertainment you're doing right now to give them.
Sure.
Once you're not able to do that entertainment no more, there's on the next person, right? So your job is to entertain. But as a player, I'm here because I always love this game, right? What I would always say to myself is, if you didn't play this game here right now, would you go back home and play it? Would you go to the gym right now?
Yeah, if you weren't being paid, would you still be
paid? Would you still go to the gym right now and play every day? Yes, you would.
Right.
So that's and then the paycheck helps it out too. The paycheck kind of cushions a lot of blows. But reality is reality. For me, what always really made it prominent, that understanding prominent at times, was every year I would come in and it'd be like 5-6 rule league changes, basketball changes that most times didn't benefit me.
Mm.
And I felt like, who had a say in these rule changes? No one that ever was on the floor
would have picked this. Yeah.
Ever had a say in the rule changes. The guys who play.
Yep.
Everybody who makes the rule changes or the league changes or a guy can't do this anymore haven't touched the floor.
Yeah, they're the ones trying to like make it more entertaining as a
but they never touched the floor. They never played basketball.
Right.
That's when I was like, oh, it's not. That's really when you just feel like I'm on some Maximus Aurelius shit for real. You know what I'm saying?
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, are you not entertained? What I gotta do next? You're gonna bring a mammoth out with tusks this long, right? Like, so I like it now. What makes me feel better about it now? And in reality is reality, and especially when you've seen it with James Harden, when a GM could talk terrible about him and put all the news about him terrible in the world, and he calls him one time a liar, and he gets fined. Right. So, or how, the NBA will put a narrative out before you and try to control the narrative. So now it makes you look like you're being greedy. If you're saying, hey, I'm not for this, or the lockout, and the players are being greedy.
Yeah, you got an outlet.
Compared to the owners, the entire team's salary compared to the owners. The one owner of the team is a minimum wage.
Yeah.
If you really consider it would be equivalent to minimum wage.
Yeah.
And I'll probably. But
no,
in the reality, in the rest of the world, like we're getting paid a lot of money, and we understand that.
Yeah, when you're talking about a guy that's got $4 billion, though, it's
right. When you got to talk about the guy who got $4 billion, who's trying to cut corners.
Yeah, he's nickel and he's cutting back how much money they spend on training tape and things like that.
And then is able to control the narrative with he controls the information.
Right.
So once he puts the information like the players are being ungrateful and sore asses, that's going to be the first. That's going to be the first information that the world gets to process.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, none of these players are from money.
Sure.
Nobody's from money. None of these players have seen a millionaire before they seen themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So, so I do agree with him. What I do like is I like Adam Silver now and how he's giving the players, letting the players have a bigger voice, have a bigger say, at least feel like it. And, until, and then social media helps us out too. Now, okay, I'm going to if I'm willing to take the risk, I'm going to get the information out at the same time the team does.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which, we see how that happens. You get fined for that.
Honestly, that's why I enjoy stuff like what we're trying to do here so much too. Like the current players, it's a little tough for them to still come out, I think, sometimes and say what they really think, and especially guys that are, fighting for contracts and aren't the star players. Like, I do think there's probably some negative ramifications for them if they're too outspoken, but you can come in and be the voice of, hey, this is probably what this guy's dealing with, and this is what this is like. So I think that's something we didn't have 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like, there was no player perspective that was easily attainable other than, you see Charles and Kenny on Inside NBA. Like that was kind of it for a lot of time. So very cool. Two other comments for you here that I thought were interesting, and they're both kind of related. Willie Cauley-Stein said he left the NBA for Europe because of his dislike for the NBA's one-on-one style. He said, I chose to come to Europe because of the more tactical way of playing compared to the 1-versus-1 basketball that is played in the NBA today, which is conditioned by the player's desire to produce personal statistics. Here in Europe, every game and every ball is important, not like in the NBA where all 32 games are equal. And Jabari Parker also came out and said the league is watered down. He said, I just want to be a part of something legitimate. I want to be a part of every game matters. Sadly, the NBA is a business, and there are 10 to 12 teams that try to win every game and the other that have to try to get a draft pick. Where does that leave the good players? You either have to be super good or super bad to lose games. It's no excuse to see guys like DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard, John Wall, guys who are potentially going to the Hall of Fame, seeing those guys not have a job. We're seeing the league get watered down, unfortunately. First, Willie Cauley-Stein, you are not in Europe right now because you wanted to play better team basketball. You're in Europe because no NBA team picked your ass up. Like, let's be transparent about it. Also, Willie Cauley-Stein, kind of a rebounder, shot blocker, rim runner. Like, he's not playing the beautiful game, right? He's not Jokic passing out of the high post and creating for people. I think that one is total bullshit. I think Jabari Parker has a little bit more of a point here with, there are some good guys that would probably be on some of these rosters from a production standpoint. But it's the nature of the business too. And also Jabari didn't go over there because he wanted to play more legitimate basketball. He's in the same boat that Willie Cauley-Stein is. If you were really moving the needle for a roster, you would probably find a way to be on a roster. That's just my opinion, but I would love to get your perspective on those things.
All right. Well, Willie Cauley-Stein, I think he was a great player at Kentucky.
Sure.
And I'm a fan of big men. And he's from right up the street in Kansas City. So, so I kind of follow him, throughout his high school career.
Sure.
But, as a big man in the NBA, like, it's only going to be so many few that can really that's not a position. A big man is not a position to. It's always the least played guy usually on the team, on the starting five.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to really make an impact beyond a certain threshold. Beyond a certain threshold as a big.
Sure.
But and like you said, Jabari Parker. I mean, I love this game too. He's more of a scorer.
He was pretty good.
He was a great player at Duke. He put up some numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end of the day, these guys would never leave the NBA. You don't ever want to leave it, even if that what they're saying is actually true. What they're saying is true. You know that, and I know that.
Sure.
Right? We know the game is so 101 now to the point that where like it's you can't make yourself a star like you used to.
Yeah.
Like back then in the NBA, you could make yourself a star if you did the right things, and because you're going to have those opportunities too. This game these days, you don't even have the opportunity to try to make yourself a star because the star player on the team is not everybody's a Kobe.
Yeah.
This new game, everybody's a Kobe. And if you're not the Pau Gasol, there's only the ones really there's only going to be a few touch the ball that Kobe trusts you to touch the ball. He only going to pass to 1 to 2 people on the team and demand everybody else not to give you the ball. Every team is like that now, right? So it is a one-on-one game. It's 100 dribbles before you get and to run the shot clock off to try to get your shot off, and if not, you're getting thrown a grenade.
Yeah.
League is watered down. League is watered down because the higher ups are trying to make it too entertaining for them. Right? They're determining what entertaining is. Right? Everything is a foul. You can't blow on somebody. It's a foul. Right? So now that's watered down. Like when there was a lot of weapons on the team back then, when you saw Boston with a million weapons and everybody touching the ball and the ball is moving, the Lakers, 76ers like with Charles Barkley or the Suns with Charles or the Houston, like you can't tell me the NBA wasn't more entertaining then, right? And had more recognizable names.
Sure.
So they're right.
Sure.
But if they had a chance to stay in the NBA, they wouldn't go nowhere. They ain't going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now what they are is saying, wow, I'm overseas now. I get to see a new type of ball.
Yeah.
This is refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
They are saying that. They're now realizing that. And now they're saying, now they're pointing back. But let somebody try to draft them tomorrow and say, hey, we need you for a year in the NBA.
Right.
Doing the same shit,
yeah.
Playing your role, not going to become you may even be on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
They're running through that door.
Yeah, in a second.
In a second.
First plane back.
Don't get it twisted, baby.
I agree, but also, like, I like watching European basketball. I enjoyed FIBA. Like, there's got to be a better balance between, like, I get why the NBA wanted to go away from the Detroit Pistons Pacers playoff series of the early 2000s, where the final score was 75-65. But I also don't want to see the Rockets beat the Warriors 159-156.
Right.
So, like, how do you kind of find that happy medium? And I don't know, that would be great. Like,
and which one is better?
Hand checking back, but how do we find the middle ground?
Matt, which one? If you had to choose to watch one, you had to choose to watch a low scoring game with Detroit against Indiana, compared to the Rockets beating 155-156. Which one would you want to watch more?
To me,
if you had to choose one game to watch, and one game never existed,
I think I'm a sicko, and this is where the casual fan would not agree. I would pick the slugfest because to me, there's more effort involved there.
I'm surprised because I would definitely not pick the slugfest. What you talking about? The younger game? I mean,
I would pick the Pacers Pistons series from the 2000s.
I'll pick that too.
Yeah,
anybody would pick that game.
Yeah, the defensive knockdown, beat you up, drag out.
That's more entertaining. You get physicalness. You get professional boxing. You get if somebody scores, they had to really score. That's to me, that's more, in the end of the day, that game is always, to me, my personal opinion, is going to be much more entertaining.
I think so. I don't think the casual fan, and especially the younger fan, agrees with us. Like, some of the younger guys I play basketball with, like, I don't know. But
have they seen the slugfest other than on Instagram
or ESPN Classic highlights?
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
And they don't watch that.
I
get it.
Yeah, to them, they want to see a guy score 45 and be a Ja Morant and be a star, or LaMelo and watch crazy stuff, where no one really guarded him, but that's the vibe I get, at least. I think that's what the league wants to do, is promote guys with big stat lines and catch people's attention for Twitter highlights and Instagram. And
that's where the world's going now.
Yeah, which is a bummer.
Because if a Ja Morant or LaMelo had to deal with the elements, from even the elements I dealt with, or the elements before me,
mm-hmm.
that would prove what type of player they really are, right? So every star from back then, they were truly stars,
mm-hmm.
right? Only person you couldn't touch back then was Michael Jordan.
Sure. They look at a Chauncey Billups stat line compared to LaMelo's, and they're like, oh, LaMelo is so much better because he scores 19 a game and has 8 assists, and Chauncey was maybe 14 and 4. But you got to think about the context with which they played. And the one thing I don't agree with Jabari is I don't think the league is watered down from a talent perspective. Like, I think the 12th best man in the NBA is better right now than the 12th best man in the NBA was 20 years ago. How do you feel about that? You played with the guys, almost 20 years ago.
It depends on in what way. The 12th best man in the NBA back then was there just for probably physicalness and bullying.
Yeah, to bang.
Skill wise,
it
wasn't there, but he was a bully somewhere.
Sure.
Now the 12th best man on the NBA roster now, skill wise, is 10 times better than 12th best man on the NBA back then.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where I'm.
It's a much concentrated, higher league as far as skills than we ever seen. The game is skill-wise, it keeps me studying every day as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm studying and trying to analyze it. Like, wow, they had to dissect a lot of counters to another counter to come up with this. Like, that's let you know how quickly this game evolves.
Yep.
A Harden step back, like, if you got to say, well, how the hell did that come about?
Sure.
For you to analyze something to be like, how can I, right? So somebody had to stop you in every way possible. You're like, how can I counter that? Then they stop that. How can I counter that? They stop that. Until you come up with a step back twice and realize it's not walking.
Yep.
For you to reach that solution, that's like a mad scientist.
Sure.
In basketball terms, right? Right. So now the way they have skill-wise developed this game to science, it's a science now.
Yep. No, I agree.
That's amazing to me. Just to watch Jordan Poole out there, like making micro decisions and doing the moves they're making now in those micro decisions.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean,
Man, it's so impressive. I mean, that can't deny that. The game is way more skilled and it's cool to watch that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I think if you could find the balance of like letting those guys use those skills, but with a little bit more pushback or constraints to go against, I think that's where you really get something. And I don't know how they do that or what the rule changes for that, but that's where I hope they go. Although a kid I played pickup with the other day did try to do like, I don't know, he got from the 3-point line to the rim without dribbling somehow between Euros and gather steps. And I was like, everyone in the gym was like, nope, we're too old for that shit. You can't do it here. I don't care if James Harden could do it. Yeah, just
that's like when my kids play when they have an old ref.
Yeah.
So I realized an old referee, everything is a walk. If you grew up on Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley and Clyde Drexler, everything a walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're like, come on, man. Like, catch up with the game.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. They'll come around eventually, I guess. Last thing, just real quick, I want to get your take on it before we get out of here. Damian Lillard finally gets traded to Milwaukee, relevant to the Wizards as another Eastern Conference team. They send out Drew Holiday. In return, Phoenix gets Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, a 2029 unprotected first-round pick, unprotected Milwaukee pick swap rights in 28 and 2030, and Phoenix gets Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. I think it's great for Milwaukee. I think it was great for Portland. I don't really get it from Phoenix's perspective unless DeAndre Ayton said, like, F it, I need out of here tomorrow. But just your take on the trade, and are you looking forward to seeing Damian Lillard and Giannis together?
Oh, I think offensively it's a great trade. Mm-hmm. Lillard, Giannis. Efficiency, effectiveness. At the end of the day, it's all about the guy who has the most points win, right? The team who has the most points win.
Sure.
But I just feel like when you take away a top defensive player, you lose cohesiveness.
Sure.
Like you lose the foundation, right? Drew Holiday, he guarded all the time. He guarded Tatum. He's guarding every tough player.
Jimmy Butler.
Butler. That's
Butler
who he
poked
guarded.
him a little bit, but yeah.
People don't value that enough. Like you think that can come in. That's more rare than the person who can shoot the lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's more rare. So yeah, you traded it off for somebody who can shoot the lights out, who can run, who's been in a marketing desert, right? A desert market. Right? Only people who like Portland are people in Portland. Right? Not saying you do dislike them, but their market doesn't expand outside of Portland, right?
Sure.
So Damian Lillard should be one of the top faces in the league long ago. Even Memphis has a bigger market than Portland. You know the Memphis players before you know Portland players, right? Sure. So, I mean, he's a guaranteed Hall of Famer that's just been completely under the radar, all because he's been out there in West Coast games. It's already hard to see West Coast games, right? Half the world missed West Coast games. You know what I'm saying? But on the West Coast, they don't miss East Coast games.
If they're not the Lakers or the Warriors, they're not showing you on TV.
Yeah, so it's great that he's finally out of the cemetery, like the marketing cemetery.
Yeah.
But the trade-off, I mean, you got to give something up major to get him. I understand that. But, I mean, Drew Holiday, very smart offensive player, but defensive-wise, man, you're giving up a lot. It's only a few of them. I only know a few of those type players. You got Drew Holiday, you got Marcus Smart, and what's my guy for – is he with Phoenix? I mean, 76ers right now?
Tyrese Maxey is PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
It's only 3 to me.
Yeah.
Those guys are so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you give up, you don't realize you're giving up another leader on your team. You're giving up cohesiveness. You're giving up somebody like Giannis. Giannis, believe you me, depending on Drew Holiday for a certain level of foundation in leadership.
Yeah, sure. That's
completely gone, that you cannot replace. Marcus Smart, I think it's going to hurt Boston more than that's going to hurt Milwaukee. Giving up Marcus Smart, like they don't. That's a terrible. That wasn't good.
It's interesting. Like maybe Milwaukee is as best suited to pick up the slack for Dame defensively as anybody because of the back line they have with Giannis and Brook. But also, you're right. Like they relied really heavily on Drew to be also their best like wing defender.
Right.
And is Pat Connaughton picking those guys up? Is Marjan Beauchamp ready to be their lockdown defender? You know, granted, he was kind of old and washed up last year, but they lost Joe Ingles in the offseason. Like, Jay Crowder have anything left? Like, who are the guys that are going to come in and pick up the other team's best guy? And it's not going to be Dame. So that's interesting. I do wonder if maybe they thought, hey, the Drew we saw in the playoffs looked a little slower, a little less athletic. Like maybe they thought they were selling early on him. I don't know. I don't know if they're
even if you did see that. You still have no one that could top that.
They need to trade for Washington Wizards guard DeLon Wright. I think he would be a perfect fit for them, and they should give us a first-round pick to do it. And I think we would happily take that.
Yes, we would. I mean, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'll even throw in Xavier Cooks and Anthony Gilmore if we have to get the deal done.
I'll take that as well.
I think they'll be fun to watch, and I'm excited for that. And I don't know, as an Eastern Conference team fan, I think there was a lot of shit talking about the Eastern Conference compared to the West. So if this in any way makes them more likely to make the Eastern Conference come out ahead, I kind of like that too. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
John, I think that's all I had for you today here. Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
No, I'm good, man. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Good to be back at it, folks. We'll be getting back to this on a more regular cadence. If you have questions or things you want us to talk about as the season ramps up, we'll be hearing more about training camp. Official media day for the Wizards is on Monday, October 2nd. So whatever comes out of that, we'll be ready to tell you about next week and break down here on the pod. But if there's anything you hear from the front office, you want the player perspective on, Jahadi is your guy. There's nobody else in the Wizards sphere that can give you that. So you know where to find us. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're presented by Betonline.ag, and we will catch y'all next time.
Peace.